Welcome to Wild. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild, Season 3. I have fallen in love with doing Wild, and what I think I love the most is the private messages and texts with just a quick, like, this helped me because, or I saw this differently because, and I'm always honored in general. I love to learn. I love to listen. I love to podcast and read and all of those things, and it's a little mind-boggling that people listen to me, and I just feel incredibly honored that I get to share a piece of my heart, a piece of my journey in business and motherhood and parenting and being a woman and all the different things in leadership and coaching and mindset and all the different things that are near and dear to my heart that people have imprinted on me. And I get to give a little piece of that to you. So welcome back to Season 3. I really believe, and just a little teaser, that it's going to be the best season yet. I'm actually going to have some guests on. I love interviewing and learning about other people and hearing their story and their journey. And it doesn't even have to be because they're getting some incredible result, if you will. Because the truth is, when you walk through life believing wholeheartedly that you could learn something from everyone, maybe it's learning even what not to do or what to do, but everybody has a story and a journey that you can learn from, that you can grow from, especially if you're being observant and engaged. And so I cannot wait to share all sorts of people that I find incredibly just interesting, engaging, and their hearts with you, their tactics with you, all of the things. So Season Wild is about to get a little wilder, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So kicking off today, the first episode, I thought a lot about the reflection of 2025, and I'm not going to go through my whole year, but there was a piece that I've shared it with a lot of people, not in a braggy way, not in a, this is the story that I'm about to tell, while it has me involved in it, really had nothing to do with me. And because I really believe so many people start to go through this. And so we have a young lady, maybe she'll be a guest on here at some point, who is making a career decision to shift out of what she has always done and been into something that works better for her. And she's a single mom and her daughter. And in doing that, she took a scary, scary leap to get her license and become a loan officer. No experience, no knowledge, but a whole heck of a lot of grit. She has played sports her entire life and coached, and you could just see athlete written all over her, and just strong, capable, powerful woman. And how vulnerable to step out of something that you know well, that you are for sure good at, into something that you've never done before. And she not only did it, but did it with tenacity, did it with such vigor, if you will, which I know as the athlete, sometimes that athletic side, that I'm used to being coached, I'm used to being on a team, I'm used to being critiqued and working to get better, I think serves us really well in many aspects of life. I know it really has helped me being an athlete. Not that you can't do well not being an athlete, but she took the coaching and everything and she was able to implement very quickly, just as she was, I'm sure, on the basketball court, although I've never been able to see her play. And she had the best year she's ever had income-wise. She's had a lot of success. She's really gotten her legs underneath her as an originator. It's been about a year and a half. And she scheduled some time on my calendar. She came into my office and she sat down, and she's strong, strong, strong woman. So it's not she says, I'm going to get emotional. And I was like, you're fine, let it out. Sometimes we all need a good, and one of the things she said was, I don't know who I am. And I thought, what do you mean you don't know who you are? And I said, well, gosh, maybe I don't know who you are. Tell me who you are. It was the cutest moment because she said, I'm funny. I'm really funny and I'm fun. And I was like, okay. And the truth is, I hadn't really seen that at the office, but we don't spend every waking moment with each other, right? We're often talking about a scenario with realtors or clients and those things. So we don't kind of go into that fun zone, if you will. But I was like, I believe you. I think you're probably fun. And she's like, no, but I'm not anymore. And I was like, where is this going? And all of a sudden I thought, maybe she's quitting. Maybe she's stepping away, which was shocking to me because she literally in her first year, she cleared over 6 figures. She closed a lot of loans. I'm like, like, what, how are you not in love? And I have a bias, a lens, if you will, because I've been in love with this industry and this career and lending directly and being a loan officer since day one that I stepped in. And so I'm like, how are you not just celebrating and thrilled with yourself? But I could see, if you will, kind of a darkness there that I was like, oh gosh, you really feel lost. And she started to explain. And she said to me, I don't know who I am in this industry. And so we talked and talked and talked about a lot of different things, being a single mom, going back into the sports arena, what was conducive to life, what her ultimate intentions were, what she wanted to create for her and her daughter, what she felt like she was creating, what was she giving herself credit for. And as we talked for probably over an hour, much longer than we had for scheduled in the appointment, one of the things that she said was just, I don't know how to be this. So she had very much labeled what this was, a career woman, a business professional, and still have this other piece of me. And one of the things that Ed Milet says on his podcast, he talks a lot about it, is that as he started to grow and really truly find success, his dad would stop him in his tracks sometimes and he would say, hey, Ed. And he'd say, yeah. And he said, you're doing great, all these things. And he says, as you grow, don't forget to take Eddie with you. And he says something to that effect. And my mom gave me, and my dad for that matter, gave me that same advice in different ways over the years, where they said, this is great. Gosh, you're growing, you're, a top producer in your county, you're a number one, in the state. Gosh, you're a coach, you're nationally recognized now. Oh gosh, you're a top 100 woman originator, you're top 50. And every time, not in a takeaway, if you will, not saying stay small, but my parents would always say, basically don't forget to take yourself with you and stay who you are at your core, right? It's kind of like the difference between happiness and joy. Joy is deep down, it's deep set, and it's not shakeable by outcomes and different things. It's a sense, right? And it's not shakeable, if you will. Happy can flee, right? I'm happy right now. Oh, I'm very unhappy. I feel very frustrated, right? It can go in an instant. And no different than the roots of who we are and how important our identity is, because that's truly what makes us unique in the sea of sameness. Everyone being able to get a rate and issue a pre-approval and do the same work. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, there is a sea of sameness. So what is our unique? And as altruistic and cheesy as it sounds, it's you. It's your gifts that you uniquely bring to the table. What a fascinating world that we are all created, and there's nobody exactly like us. I did find a doppelganger once, but that's another story. But there's nobody exactly like us. And what an incredible gift that is. And so how do you use it and bring it with you on the journey? And so this young lady, we sit and we talk and talk and talk and talk. And I challenged her to really reframe that she didn't have to lose herself to become more professional, to become more polished or more acceptable. She just needs to bring herself to work. She needs to make it part of who she is versus it transforming. And that doesn't mean we don't grow and that we don't change and that things don't, happen and we evolve, if you will, by our choice. But losing pieces of ourselves, that's in our control. We make choices that might say, hey, I have to shed this piece of me, and I'm happy to do it because I get all of this. And so as we're chatting about everything, and I challenged her to maybe see it differently, and maybe she had written a narrative, which we often do, that said, the only way to do this is to grind. The only way to do this is to be very serious. The only way to do this well is to be in heels and a blazer and a suit. The only way to do this is to go all in and leave this other piece of myself behind. And the freedom in what we do, because of the flexibility, if you will, it's not that you don't grind. It's that when you are at work, you want to be all in at work, but no part of it says, by the way, be all in at work, but be this version of all in. None of it says that. It says be your version, right? Be your version of all in. And so I know that one of the most powerful things that I've ever done is I've never shied away, even in the climb and anything else, that I'm a mom of 5 kids and that my husband and my children and my family on the whole come first. I've never shied away from my Christian faith and that Jesus for me comes first, right? Like I've never shied away from those things. And that might mean that there are pieces that don't fit with everybody else, but I'm not working to fit with everybody else. I'm working to fit with myself. And so the industry, motherhood, all different things will demand things, and they will tell us very easily who we potentially should be. And maybe we write a narrative that says, if I'm going to fit in, I have to do this. And I would challenge that you say, I understand what I need to do, but I'm going to do it as me. I'm going to do it as me. And if I choose something that I feel like is going to be a better version of me, awesome. But I'm bringing me with me, because you will never feel fulfilled if you are not yourself. And so I'm going to read you a text, if you will, after her and I's conversation and me challenging her to kind of think differently. Well, I'll get to the end of this and I'll explain the very ending, because I think it's my most favorite part. But when she wrote me, she said, just a second, I'm bringing it up, and I know that I probably shouldn't read, but I have to read because it's that powerful to just read it in her words. So a couple days later, she texted me and she said, here's what happened so far today. I wore athletic clothes because it makes me feel strong. I listened to rap on my headphones in the office like I was about to have a game. Laugh out loud. I worked out hard for an hour at lunch and I nearly passed out and I loved it. But also, I got one new contract. I got 2 new leads. I had 12 impactful interactions with realtors and clients so far. And she said, basically, thank you for helping me challenge my perspective that it very well could be possible to embrace who I am while continuing to work hard in a brand new industry. And that maybe those two things together even lead to more success when working in harmony with one another. I'm so very grateful for your wisdom and encouragement, and most of all, the heart, getting a taste of what people say when they say no one is like you. For me, my heart is to see people absolutely be successful, but to also maintain themselves. And this industry in general, commission sales, a lot of people aren't cut out for it, if you will. And part of that is the pressure, if you will, to sometimes succeed. And if you lose yourself in it, success without joy is simply not success. And so how do we do success well in 2026? We do it with joy. We do it with ourselves. We do it showing up as ourselves at the table, but yes, being willing to grow, being willing to evolve, and blending the two of those things is where the magic will truly happen. One of the questions I asked her as I wrap this up was, hey, how much money have you saved? What did you earn this year? Because one of the things that we need to do sometimes to keep motivated is to not only have accountability, which I think she had given herself way too much of, but in all the good ways, it also served her very well. But she was missing the praise, and your motivation will disintegrate or definitely dial back, if you will, if you don't have a balance of those two things, both accountability and praise. And praise can be a lot of things. I've talked about it a lot. It can be a paycheck. It can be a pat on the back. It can be an atta girl. It can be a stat of where you rank in the company. It can be your first contract. It can be a lead from a realtor that you met with. Praise comes in many forms, but praising yourself, being proud of yourself, is probably the single most powerful, not in an arrogant way, but in I know what I'm doing and I'm proud that I've taken this leap and I'm learning a new version of myself, but I'm bringing myself with me and all of these things. And so I asked her, I said, let's measure a few things. And what's funny is she felt so empty, even though she had made the most money she'd ever made in her life and she had the biggest savings account she ever had. Again, speaks to that success without joy is not success. She's got this little girl, beautiful daughter. I said, what have you done as a reward to show you and your daughter the benefits of being a strong career woman, independent financially? What are you teaching your daughter, one, and what are you doing to show her the outcome of hard work, of taking a risk, of doing all of these brave, incredible things that you have done that I see, that I hope that you are able to reflect on and see for yourself? And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, did you take a trip? Did you go out to a nice dinner? Did you celebrate? You've probably had multiple best months ever this year, and that's only going to continue. What have you done to praise? And she's like, nothing. I've just been working really hard. And I said, that's the missing ingredient. Sometimes we need to pause. Now, where people get this wrong is they have their biggest paycheck and they literally go on a 3-week vacation. That's not the right thing. That's a bad idea, right? We get way ahead of ourselves. Sometimes we overpraise, we overindulge, if you will, and that can throw things very much off, both financially and then also in business. So be very careful with that. In saying that, we have to go in sprints. You see Jesse, I think it's Itzler, if I'm saying his last name right, it might be Eitzler, married to Sarah Blakely, who is the owner of Spakes. I think I'm saying all that right. He has that big blank calendar, if you will, the big planner. I have it actually right here. So he has this and he's like, own your life, right? Own your decisions of what you're doing. And so I asked her, I said, I would like you to find a reward. And she's still just blank faced. And she says, wouldn't that be reckless or foolish? And I said, no, I mean, I'm not telling you to go on a $20,000, 4 week in Hawaii vacation by any means, but go do something really fun that you reap the rewards of hard work. That's part of why we work, right? To then be able to go create memories and joy in other ways. And we trade our work time, if you will, our personal time to go to work, and we do that in order to make money. How important is it? Then we use some of that money, buy some things that will also bring us joy, memories, impact. And I said, have you ever been to Disneyland with your daughter? Just no. And I said, my homework for you, if you'll allow me to assign it, is to go to Disneyland. And she went to Disneyland. She booked the trip. She sent me a link, and I shared with her all my Minnie Mouse ears, because if you know me, you know that I love some Disney and some sweatshirts and all the matching things. And she and her daughter spent a week in California. They went to Disneyland and California Adventure every other day, and they saw some other things. And she said that her daughter had the best time. And she sent me pictures of her daughter waving at characters on the parade streets, and, all of these little videos throughout the trip. And I asked her when I got back, I said, how energized do you feel? And she said, unbelievable. I feel unbelievable. And so my challenge for every single one of you, my call to action, if you will, is put more of yourself, trust more of yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table, and blend it all together. Life is not work and then personal and then family and then these things. It's life. And life is an ecosystem that should all hold hands with one another. And I believe wholeheartedly that that is how you bring the most joy to yourself and with yourself. And then you are able to pay that forward and do some great things for other people as a result, all the hard work and all the growth that you personally have had. Let's have a great 2026. We'll see you on the next Wild.